Bitcoin just dropped 41% from its all-time high. ETF investors have now pulled money out for 10 straight days. And right now, the RSI is hovering near oversold territory. So the question everyone in this space is asking is simple. Is this the buying opportunity of the year or the beginning of something worse? I've looked at every on-chain signal, every ETF flow, and every key price level. And in the next 10 minutes, I'm going to tell you exactly where I think this market goes next and what you need to do about it. Let's get into it. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I break down the crypto and stock market every single day so you understand exactly what's moving, why it's moving, and what it means for your money. Hit subscribe if you haven't already, and make sure notifications are on because the next few weeks in this market could be decisive. Here's what we're covering today. The real reason crypto just cooled off storm, and it's not what most people think. A deep dive into the ETF outflow data and why institutional behavior right now is a massive signal. The exact price levels on Bitcoin and Ethereum you need on your radar. And finally, the altcoins still showing strength in this environment. Stay with me because this next part is critical. Let's set the scene. As of today, May 31st, Bitcoin is trading around $73,900. That's actually up about 0.5% in the last 24 hours, which sounds like good news. But zoom out and the picture gets more complicated. Bitcoin hit an all-time high of $126,000 earlier this cycle. We are now sitting roughly 41% below that. That is a significant correction by any measure. Now, is that a crash? No. Is it uncomfortable? Absolutely. Here's what's driving it. Number 1. ETF outflows. US spot, Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs have now seen 10 consecutive days of net outflows. We're talking $143 million pulled out just in the last session. And here's the scary number, Sankriki. Since May 7th, Bitcoin ETFs alone have shed over $4 billion in cumulative outflows. That is institutional money. The same money that drove prices from $63,000 to over $80,000 earlier this year. Now stepping back. Number 2, macro headwinds. We're still dealing with geopolitical tensions, uncertainty around Federal Reserve policy, and a broader risk-off environment that is pushing capital to the sidelines. And number 3, technical weakness. The RSI on Bitcoin's daily chart is sitting around 38. That's not quite oversold, but it's getting close. And we've got short liquidation clusters building up around key support levels. Now, before you panic, let me give you the other side of this story, because it matters. Here's what the bears don't want you to see. ETF outflows are a short-term signal. They tell us what institutions are doing this week, not what they're positioned for over the next 6 to 12 months. And here's the critical context. Bitwise projects that crypto ETFs will buy more new Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana this year than the total new supply coming onto the market. Let me say that again. ETF demand is expected to outpace new supply. That's a structural tailwind that doesn't disappear in 10 days of outflows. ETF assets under management are still expected to reach between $180 and $220 billion by the end of 2026. That's roughly double where they started the year. Stay with me because this next part is critical. The current price action actually resembles something we've seen before. Bitcoin peaked, corrected hard, and then, with institutional positioning still intact and long-term ETF demand anchoring the floor, it recovered. Coinbase Institutional's 2026 outlook framed this moment as rhyming with 1996, not 1999, meaning we're constructive, but we're not at the blow-off top. Now let's talk Ethereum. ETH is sitting around $2,050. The narrative around ETH is messy right now. Whales and corporations are making billion-dollar bets on ETH as a long-term foundational asset, but retail is frustrated by its underperformance versus Bitcoin. Harvard Management Company reportedly dumped an $87 million BlackRock Ethereum ETF position after just 1 quarter. That's a bearish signal you can't ignore. Watch the Ethereum ETF net flow data closely this week. If it stabilizes or flips positive, that's your signal. And the altcoin story? Fragmented. This is not altcoin season. Let me be direct about that. Altcoin rallies right now are short-lived, narrative-driven, and speculative. Bitcoin dominance is elevated and likely stays that way through the macro uncertainty period. But there are specific names still showing strength, and those are exactly what we're going to cover right now. Let's talk numbers, because that's why you're here. Bitcoin, $73,900 is where we are right now. Key support, $72,300 is the first level to watch. Below that, $70,000 is a major psychological floor and where a lot of long-term buyers are likely sitting. If we lose $70,000 on meaningful volume, that opens the door to $65,000. Mark that down. On the upside, Bitcoin needs to reclaim and hold $76,000 to shift short-term sentiment. Above that, $80,000 is the resistance zone that matters. Break and hold $80,000 and we're back in business. Near-term price models put Bitcoin between $72,300 and $75,500 in the next 24 hours. That's a tight range. A breakout in either direction is worth paying attention to. Ethereum, around $2,050. Critical support sits at $1,755. Below that, analysts are eyeing $1,390. Those are not levels you want to see tested. On the upside, ETH needs to clear $2,200 convincingly to break the current consolidation structure. Altcoins, here's what's on my radar. Solana. SOL remains one of the most closely watched alt plays right now. The potential for a regulated Solana ETF is still a live catalyst. Transaction throughput is strong. Bullish case points to $195 to $325 this cycle. But this one is volatile, so position size accordingly. XRP, still attracting attention for cross-border payment use cases and regulatory developments. Watch for clarity on the ongoing legal and regulatory landscape. That's the trigger. Dogecoin. This might surprise you. Dogecoin delivered its strongest monthly performance in 9 months earlier this May, outperforming both Bitcoin and XRP in that window. Is it sustainable? Probably not long term, but as a momentum play in a choppy market, it showed life. The pattern to watch across all altcoins. When Bitcoin finds a floor and stabilizes, that's when you'll see the narrative-driven alt pops. Don't chase them during Bitcoin uncertainty. Wait for the signal. So let's bring this together. The crypto market just cooled off significantly. Bitcoin is 41% off its all-time high. ETF outflows have hit $4 billion since early May. The macro environment is uncertain, and technically, we're sitting at a delicate moment. But the structural story hasn't changed. Institutional infrastructure is intact. ETF demand is projected to outpace new supply for the full year. Regulatory clarity continues to improve globally. And historically, this phase of the cycle, post-ATH correction with long-term holders accumulating, tends to be where the next move is set up. The question isn't whether crypto recovers. History is pretty clear on that. The question is whether you're positioned to benefit when it does, or whether you're going to be chasing prices 3 months from now. Watch these levels. Watch the ETF flow data every week, and come back here every day because this market moves fast, and so do we. If this video helped you think more clearly about your portfolio, hit that like button. It genuinely helps this channel grow. Subscribe if you're not already, and drop a comment below. Are you buying this dip, holding, or waiting for lower? I read every single comment. I'll see you in the next one. This is not financial advice. Everything discussed in this video is for educational and informational purposes only. Always do your own research before making any investment decisions.